Owen Grufford played a superhero once and just spent the rest of his career being that dick. Tim Curry just takes any role where he can wear a lot of eyeliner.
I believe in you.
The Secret of Moonacre.
Naughty's fantasy films were just a different breed, man. You either watched it at the time as a kid and there was nothing in the world more magical and more complete and more fulfilling and incredible to you, or you didn't and you watched it for the first time as an adult and it's something else entirely. I did not watch this one as a kid. The Secret of Moonacre is about Maria, whose father is dead, because that's what parents do in movies. Her mother was never even spoken of as an option because she's so dead. She moves into the country to live with her uncle, played by Owen Grufford, doing his best tortured Mr. Darcy impression. Anyway, he's hiding a dark secret that she uncovers in an old book about a moon princess that cursed her father and her fiancé after they both got greedy over her ancient magical moon pearls, for their families to be doomed in 5,000 moons' time. That is both specific and ridiculous. She almost gets kidnapped in the woods on the way to living with her uncle, okay? That's her first experience of being in these woods in this valley. And then he tells her, you shouldn't go into the woods anymore. And she's like, yeah. And then immediately goes out into the woods again, almost gets kidnapped again, is saved by the dog that's actually a magical black lion. Doesn't matter. Don't focus on that. And then she decides to just keep going into the woods more and more frequently from that point on. Is it just because I'm an adult now that I think, like, oh, wow, these kids in these films are really dumb? Or, yeah, because if this was a horror film, just dead. Anyway, Tim Curry is the leader of the other family, and he's super weird, and he's dressed kind of like a cross between a Viking and an attraction worker in a dungeon attraction at a theme park. That kind of thing. But he's surprisingly toned down in this film, which is sad because you want to see a stallion like that just allowed to ride at his own pace, yeah. Although he does insist that killing a child is the best option to saving his family, despite every other member of his family betraying him and saying, no, don't do that. I'm confused about what the vibe is here, because some people are dressed like Victorian times, some people like medieval times, and some like they're in a school child production of Mad Max. I'm lost. Also, Owen Grufford and Tim Curry play themselves and their ancestors. And the whole story is about, like, magical pearls and an ancient family curse. So I was lost for half the film. I thought that they were just the same characters as their ancestors. Like, I thought they'd just been alive this whole time, cursed. That's not what's going on, but that's the vibe of the whole film, is that I understood what was going on, but I was never, like, clued in enough to really be, like, super invested in enjoying it, you know? It was just a little bit, and I know this is going to sound like blasphemy to people who saw it and loved it as a kid, but it's a little bit silly and boring. I definitely wanted to get more invested in this magical, kid-friendly Wonderland fantasy place, but it doesn't have that much to it. You know, there's the curse, and their two families are, like, warring and don't appear to be, like, up with modern times. I'm not quite sure when this takes place, but all law and order have broken down specifically in this valley. But she, like, came from London where everything was completely normal. So, like, What's the vibe? It doesn't matter. But yeah, there's just not a lot to it. There's the curse, and then there's this unicorn, and then there's the black dog, which is actually an ancient black lion. It's been the same dog for 300 years, and nobody ever thought, oh, that's old. Okay. Because her uncle's been there since he was born, and he's at least in his, like, 40s, and the dog's still just... Okay. No, but it just nothing ever quite works, and also there's just not enough going on. Like, the entire story is just she goes out into the woods, almost gets kidnapped, comes back, wonders about this curse thing, more exposition about the curse thing, so much about the curse that, like, that's all there is. There's no other magical elements going on. There's no side quest fun stuff. It's just that. It's just these two families are cursed. There's no actual romance between her and the other kid from the other family, who is, you know, They really got a vibe like something's going to go on, and then it doesn't really. And also, like, he thinks a bandana that covers like a tenth of his face is a disguise. Like, he's not smart. I think the main kid actor is impeccable. The cast in general is very strong. I love the character that went through one bad breakup and decided to become a hermit in the woods. Like, what a vibe. But but apart from that, in actual story terms, there's just not a lot here. Like, it's relatively, like, obvious everything that's going to happen and stuff. I know that this is aimed at a younger audience, but it also just doesn't feel like it's exciting enough, or it's got enough, like, stuff going on for kids. And I know it was based on quite an old book, but I just don't feel like they needed to bother adapting this, because there was no better direction to go in story terms. There isn't a lot here in terms of an actual, like, fantasy world to build upon. they're just in this valley where these two weird, crotchety old families are really pissed at each other, and like, there's not much else to it, you know? They don't introduce enough other characters or give her other friends or anything that you would think, like, oh yeah, you need this just to like level up it a bit in story terms. It was weird. Anyway, I'm giving There's Never Enough Men in Eyeliner 2.5 stars. I feel like Naughty's fantasy kind of aimed more at kids was just everywhere in movies. Like, but now, not so much. I can't tell if I'm disappointed in that, because it was nice to have growing up these kind of films, but also I don't want to have to like sit and review films like talking down this much at kids today.